Hey YouTube, just want to put in a review for the Butlerian Jihad. These would be the beginning of the prequel novels from Brian Herbert and Anderson. It's an interesting read. There are a lot of moments I like. There are intriguing characters. I think a lot of the characters are well written. The main thing, though, to address with these prequel books is how much they differ in tone, pacing, and philosophy from Frank Herbert's original works. I think that Frank Herbert would be welcoming of his son making the series his own. So to me, that makes sense for the family legacy, if you will. And so from that perspective, I think Brian Herbert's done a really great job in getting a lot of essence through in some of his father's vision and stuff. But I can't help but notice that I don't think he captures all of his father's vision. I think that his father wrestled with a lot of deep questions with human nature and such, a lot of minutia, as you could say. In the Butlerian Jihad, there's not as much minutia, and that part I do miss. You get the sorceresses coming in kind of as seeing the beginnings of the type of presence we see from the Bene Gesserit that come into the DUNE universe, which isn't terrible, but I feel like Frank Herbert genuinely put forward a vision of human evolution and figuring out things as the human race rallied around the no-thinking machine type world, right? But to have straight up sorceresses was kind of like, okay, this feels a little lazy because you just have superpowers. It's not like, say, Miles Tegg, for example, that we see come up later in Frank Herbert's works, and then Brian Herbert and Anderson bring him around, right, where he has these superhuman like abilities of speed and things like that. But there was a science to it, and there was also a cost. Like Miles Tegg like literally burns himself up, right? Whereas you get these sorceresses, and I guess you see some of a similar trade-off as some of them go kamikaze in taking down the Cymax. But it's not as fleshed out as it could be. So those are kind of some areas where I would critique the Butlerian Jihad. But for what it is, there's a lot of interesting things going on. The idea of humans taking their brains out, putting them in robot bodies to have immortality as the Titans was a very interesting one. And for a sci-fi novel, I felt it was really good. It had a lot of sci-fi elements. It kept you involved. It had interesting characters. But as far as how well does it connect to the DUNE universe and Frank Herbert's original works, some moments yes, some moments no. But it's at least a fun ride, and I'm happy to start getting through these prequel novels. I'm hoping that once I get to a lot of the say Navigators of DUNE, Sisterhood of DUNE, things like that, it'll feel a little more cohesive and a little less, haha, they were sorcerers, stuff like that. I think we'll get there. So I'm gonna get through it. I still enjoy the writing. I do think Brian Herbert and Anderson do really well in how they paint visuals and things like that. They make great characters, but again, it's the minutia. The minutia is not quite there. And maybe it'll be there more in other elements. But characters like, say, Erasmus, Borean Atreides, they're interesting. And the dance between Erasmus and Serena Butler is kind of the tango that you're interested in seeing, that obviously has the most effect on the Jihad. But anyway, that's my review. Take it for what it's worth. I'll post again when I get through the next one, The Machine Crusade, which I've started. Anywho, hope you are all doing well, and I will see you next week.